Hi guys, this is Nick from 100million.com. I just want to do a quick talk today about a few questions I've been asking myself recently based around the problem that a lot of people, a lot of governments and organisations and international development organisations don't recognise, which is there is no two ways about it. There is a finite and limited amount of money in the world. The world is a closed economy. We don't trade with other planets. We haven't got any more money coming in. Yes, you can print money and certain organisations do that, but as soon as that happens, the currency, it's simple supply and demand. The currency depreciates and you're essentially left with what you had in the first place. So, what are we left with? We're left with governments trying to make their countries richer to improve the standard of living in their countries, which means they then get re-elected on the back of that, and everyone's happy. However, based on this first sort of assumption, how does a country get richer? It gets richer by bringing money in from elsewhere. Now, there's lots of government-backed schemes, accelerators going on to fund and grow small businesses and start-up businesses and support entrepreneurs. However, if the aim of these programs is to improve the general standard of living of the country, why don't they make the programs so much more efficient and try to limit them to start-ups and entrepreneurs that will actually have potential to export their products or services, create a big business and bring money into the country and create further employment. Now, to me, that seems like an 80-20 efficient approach, which will be a lot more effective than the scattergun approach that's currently taken. You can have all the quality mentors devoting more time and more money devoted to certain businesses, which will then grow quicker as a result, and the country will reap the rewards. Now, onto international development. There's a lot of projects out there that work with a small amount of people to help them set up businesses, and that's great work, and it's great that people or organisations teach others to become entrepreneurs. However, my gut feeling is that international development isn't about changing a few people's lives. It isn't about helping a few people to set up a business. It's about bringing a region out of poverty. If you, for example, have a town of 30 or a village of 30 people and you teach everyone in that village to set up a business, but you don't teach them to market to the outside world, then you've created a false economy. Money's just swapping hands, and what will happen in the end will probably be what's happened in most Western countries, which is the money ends up, or like 80% of the money ends up being in the hands of 2% of the villagers. That's not the best problem to have. Now, so what I propose is a sort of Robin Hood style to international development. There should be a recognition that the aim of international development to bring a region out of poverty can be achieved by taking money from elsewhere to that place. However, for that, you need certain structures in place and mentoring and support for the businesses in a village, for example. There are two massive barriers to achieving this, which one, language barriers in certain countries. So, for example, me and my business partner, we run a charity working out in Sri Lanka, and we aim to bring certain villages and towns in the north of Sri Lanka out of poverty. However, there's a big barrier to that, which is that they speak a different language to the rest of the country, and that's a huge barrier to exporting products internationally or to the rest of the country. The second big barrier is the brain drain. Now, it's a recognised thing that people with talent, people that are sort of intellectually or commercially superior tend to move to the big cities and send money home. So you've essentially got the best people doing work elsewhere, and not actually they're unavailable to really help the businesses coming out of that village. I think there's a solution to this, which is that the international aid organisations and charities that work to set up these businesses get the ball rolling. They communicate with the people outside of that village. They negotiate contracts, etc., etc., and then they pass that work on to either a couple of very promising people within the village, or they pass that work on to the people that have left that village to go to the city, but whose families are still there doing these business enterprises. Those are the people that have the experience. Those are the people that are going to be able to negotiate, and that then comes a more sustainable solution. It overcomes the brain drain problem that really does, at a high level, affect the effectiveness of international development. Now, going back to this point that there's a finite amount of money in the world, and essentially there's a big pot with people just giving money to each other, and there's no money actually created, it's just swapping hands for equal amounts of value, we can come to the conclusion that the only way to improve quality of life of the world in general, without anyone losing out, is through technology and innovation. And this is what really excites me. The fact that technology and innovation can bring people, it may not bring them out of poverty, it may not give them an income, but you can improve aspects of someone's life for relatively cheap. You can put a business model behind it, and you can improve their quality of life. Now, how can that happen? Technology and innovation has to be encouraged, and it will only be encouraged and it will only happen on a large enough scale if there's a business model behind it, which is the difficult part. But in my experience in Enactus, there's one project that I think, run by a friend of mine, Mike Austin, who he hits the nail on the head. The project works. It's using an established technology, solar panels and lights, combined with a proven and successful business model, microfinance or micro leasing, to bring light to various villages and places across Africa, and it also creates employment there. Now, the awesome thing about white light is that the light then replaces kerosene, and the villagers at the moment spend so much on kerosene that the solar lamp and the solar panels actually work out cheaper. There's a massive incentive for them to use this clean energy, and because it's paid for by microfinance, one, it creates a job or a few jobs, and two, the scheme is able to expand on its own because more money's paid back than the value of the lamps initially, and then they can buy more lamps, they can rent them out to more people, and it's sort of this wholly sustainable project, which is awesome. I think there needs to be more projects like that out in the world, expanding and growing and taking existing technology out there with to developing countries to help them with a solid business model behind it. And essentially what this is doing is creating much more value than the end consumer actually has to pay for. They're getting a very good deal. So, summary, there's a finite amount of money in the world. Entrepreneurs have to deal with that. Countries should focus on startups with export potential to bring money into their countries and raise the standard of living. International development needs to recognise the value of technology with the business model behind it, and the value that can be created, and the associated increase in quality of life and standard of living that will come from putting appropriate structures in place for livelihood projects to export their products and services. These are my thoughts. It's my gut instinct, it's what I woke up today thinking, but I feel that if these kind of changes can be made, the world will be a slightly better place. Thank you.